Decide faster. Live bolder. In the next minute, learn the exact tools that turn hesitation into momentum. Subscribe now and get a new audiobook chapter every day. No ads, no filler, just 10 powerful lessons that transform how choices get made. Chapter 1 exposes the mind's decision wiring. Chapter 2 uncovers hidden biases. Chapter 3 sharpens clarity. Chapter 4 simplifies rapid risk checks. Chapter 5 gives battle-tested frameworks. Chapter 6 trains intuition. Chapter 7 teaches calm under pressure. Chapter 8 converts mistakes into fuel. Chapter 9 reveals smart delegation. Chapter makes fast decisions a lasting habit. Hit subscribe and ring the bell to train daily with bite-sized chapters that stack into deep, practical mastery. Share this with one person who hesitates too long. Watch to the end. Every second is built to change what you do next, and this whole video runs without a single ad for you today. Chapter 1: The Psychology of Decision-Making. Decision-making is not a mysterious skill reserved for the naturally decisive. It is an everyday muscle that responds to training, discipline, and clear method. At the moment a choice presents itself, the mind is a crowded theater. Quick, loud instincts jostle for attention, while a quieter, deliberate voice waits in the wings. That clash is the heart of why decisions, especially fast ones, feel stressful. The body is built to respond to threat, the mind evolved to avoid error. Both serve survival, but both can trap a person in hesitation, regret, or impulsive action. Understanding what happens inside the brain and the body when a decision arrives makes it possible to meet choices with calm clarity rather than frantic reaction. Two broad systems run most decision-making: a fast, automatic processor that reacts with habit and instinct, and a slow, reflective processor that weighs options and consequences. The fast system is immediate and efficient. It recognizes patterns, reads faces, and fires off choices without conscious deliberation. The slow system is the craftsman, patient, analytical, capable of reasoning through trade-offs and imagining futures. The fast system is invaluable for routine and danger. The slow system is essential for novel problem and long-term plans. Stress and fatigue push more decisions into the fast system, which is why tiredness leads to impulsive purchases, harsh words, or poor choices. Under pressure, the body floods with adrenaline and cortisol, narrowing attention to immediate threat and making complex trade-offs harder to see. That physiological reaction is an old wiring loop, not a personal failure. Biases are mental shortcuts that conserve energy. They are helpful most of the time, but they also distort judgment. Confirmation bias privileges information that supports an existing belief. Availability bias elevates recent or vivid examples above base rates. Anchoring causes the first number offered to skew subsequent estimates. Loss aversion makes the pain of loss loom larger than the joy of gain. Overconfidence disguises uncertainty, while analysis paralysis magnifies options until indecision feels safer than action. Recognizing these tendencies is the first act of discipline, a refusal to be guided by invisible forces. Name the bias when it appears. Saying that is anchoring, or this is triggered by loss aversion, brings a cold, objective light to what otherwise feels like an emotional tug. Practical control begins before the decision moment. Environment, habits, and default rules do the heavy lifting so the mind does not have to reduce the number of trivial choices by creating routines, a morning ritual that decides breakfast, clothing, and the first tasks of the day. Pre-commitment is a powerful technique. Decide in advance what will be done when certain situations arise. A written rule, for instance, if a new project reaches less than 5 committed hours of work by week 2, drop it, eliminates the emotional churn later. Time boxing concentrates attention and limits the time available for overthinking. Give a small fixed window to decide and move on. Default save energy, set automatic savings, pre-agreed meeting lengths, and standard processes for repetitive choices. The goal is not to avoid thinking, but to reserve thinking for what truly matters. When a meaningful decision arrives, a simple, disciplined process keeps the body and mind aligned. Pause for breath to reset the nervous system, a slow inhale for 4 counts, a hold for 1, an exhale for 5, repeated twice. This small physiological intervention lowers the immediate stress response and opens a sliver of clarity. Next, ask 3 short, sharp questions. What is the real objective here? What is the worst realistic outcome, and is it survivable? What is one small action that moves toward the goal without burning bridges? These questions funnel attention away from noise and toward essentials. The aim is not perfect prediction. The aim is acceptable risk, clear purpose, and forward movement. Risk assessment does not require complex calculations. A practical rule of thumb works. Estimate best case, worst case, and most likely scenarios in 2 sentences each. If the worst case can be absorbed without catastrophic loss, if it is reversible or recoverable, the decision deserves a bias toward action. If the worst case would destroy core values or essential resources, slow down, gather facts, and consult. A pre-mortem is a disciplined exercise. Imagine the decision has failed and identify the reasons why. This flips the usual overconfidence on its head and surfaces hidden risks before they become reality. A short written pre-mortem done in 5 minutes can save weeks of error. Intuition is not magic. It is pattern recognition shaped by experience. When experience exists, intuition can be trusted more often. When the situation is truly new, intuition becomes less reliable. Build intuition deliberately by reflecting on past choices. Keep a decision journal that records the context, the choice, the reasons, and the outcome. Review entries monthly. This practice polishes the ability to see when patterns repeat and when the environment has changed. Over time, an honest, well-kept decision log becomes a compass, a source of feedback that trains both the fast, instinctive mind and the slow, analytical one. Communication and the use of external tools improve speed without sacrificing quality. Translate complex choices into a single metric tied to values. Time saved, revenue generated, peace of mind preserved. Use checklists for repeatable decisions, hiring, launching, or buying. Checklists shorten deliberation and reduce omission error. For collaborative decisions, define roles clearly. Who gathers data? Who synthesizes? Who decides? Decision-making slows when multiple people assume decision rights. Create a RACE rule in small teams. Who is responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed to cut through fog. Stress management is not optional for good decisions. The body and mind are linked. When cortisol dominates, reasoning recedes. Sleep, nutrition, and movement matter. A 10-minute walk often clarifies a problem more than another hour of sitting. Regular exercise increases resilience, making high-stakes choices feel less threatening. Avoid decision-making when blood sugar is low. Small physiological deficits produce outsized errors. Build rituals that restore equilibrium before major decisions. Hydration, 5 minutes of focused breathing, or a quick note that lists immediate priorities. These are small acts of discipline that change the quality of choices. Mistakes will happen. The measure of wisdom is not avoiding every error, but responding well to them. A stoic stance accepts that some loss is inevitable and treats errors as instruction. After a decision, perform a short retrospective. What signs were present? What was ignored? What could be changed in the process? Make one concrete revision to the routine, a rule, a question, a person to consult next time. The intention is to institutionalize learning, so doubt outcomes infect the system less and less. Rapid learning shortens the feedback loop and turns failure into acceleration rather than stagnation. Practical application requires small, immediate experiments. For 1 week, convert 3 daily trivial decisions into automatic rules. Meals, clothing, and the first work task. Track 1 complex decision in the journal. Note the options, the anchor, the chosen action, and the result. Before each decision, breathe, name the bias that could appear, and apply the 3 short questions. At the end of the week, review. If clarity improved, expand the approach. If not, refine the questions. Growth in decision-making is incremental and cumulative. Daily habits compound into a capability that transforms life. The psychology of decision-making is also the psychology of self-governance. Choices reveal character because they are where values meet action. Training the decision-making muscle is training the person to be steadier, more reliable, and more aligned with long-term aims. Discipline in decision-making is not cold mechanical control, it is compassion for the future self that will live with the consequences. A disciplined choice is a promise kept to future opportunity. Every decision is an opportunity to practice clarity, courage, and restraint. Begin with the small things and treat them like training. When the moment of consequence arrives, the practiced reflex will be calm assessment rather than frantic anxiety. Breathe, name the bias, ask the sharp questions, and choose what aligns with the objective that matters most. Afterward, record the result and mine it for learning. Over time, the mind will grow resilient to stress and more fluent in reason. The life that unfolds from disciplined decisions is not free of hardship, but it is directed, coherent, and durable. That direction becomes the quiet power behind achievement, not by avoiding difficulty, but by meeting it with steady judgment. Chapter 2: Recognizing Cognitive Biases. Human thinking is a marvel of evolution, yet it is far from perfect. Every day, countless decisions are made under pressure, and the hidden filters of the mind often distort judgment before a conscious thought even forms. Cognitive biases are these invisible distortions, subtle shortcuts the brain takes that conserve energy but sometimes mislead, creating patterns that feel intuitive yet steer action in unintended directions. Recognizing these biases is not about eliminating instinct or emotion. It is about shining a disciplined light on the automatic tendencies that influence perception and choice. The more visible these patterns become, the more they can be managed, and the more the mind can operate with clarity, precision, and control. Confirmation bias is one of the most pervasive and insidious influences on decisions. It compels the mind to notice information that supports existing beliefs, while ignoring contradictory evidence. In practice, it manifests as an invisible filter. An investor reads only positive news about a favored stock, or a manager interprets team behavior to fit their preconceptions rather than reality. This bias can make decisions feel safe or justified, but in truth, it narrows perspective and traps the mind in a feedback loop that reinforces assumptions rather than testing them. To counteract it, actively seek opposing viewpoints, challenge personal assumptions, and create a mental habit of asking, "What evidence could prove me wrong?" This practice may feel uncomfortable at first, but it transforms decisions from reactions to deliberate, informed choices. Overconfidence bias is another common pitfall. Confidence feels desirable. It energizes action and projects authority. Yet when confidence exceeds knowledge or experience, it can become dangerous. Overestimating skills, misjudging probabilities, or ignoring potential pitfalls leads to costly errors. Consider an entrepreneur launching a business based solely on passion, without researching the market, competition, or operational challenges. The energy of conviction may drive the venture forward, but it cannot substitute for data-informed decisions. The antidote is humility anchored in assessment. Break assumptions into measurable components, consult those with different expertise, and recognize where knowledge is incomplete. Each decision should be treated as a hypothesis, tested against reality, rather than a pronouncement from certainty. Analysis paralysis is the subtle enemy of speed. The abundance of information in modern life tempts the mind into endless comparison, evaluation, and hypothetical scenario construction. When every choice is weighed against countless possibilities, the result is inaction, a freeze that feels safe but erodes opportunity. Imagine someone planning a major career change, endlessly researching programs, industries, and projections, only to find years passing without a concrete move. The mind seeks certainty, but certainty rarely exists. The countermeasure is to limit options deliberately, set fixed deadlines, and define acceptable criteria for success. A practical rule might be: choose 3 viable paths, evaluate their alignment with core goals, and commit to a decision within a defined period. Action, even imperfect, accelerates learning and often reveals the optimal path through experience. Anchoring is another bias that subtly shapes decisions. The first piece of information received often disproportionately influences subsequent judgments. A person negotiating a salary may find their perception of a fair offer anchored by the first figure mentioned, regardless of market standards or personal value. Anchoring occurs in all walks of life: pricing negotiations, project timelines, and performance evaluations. Awareness alone reduces its grip. By deliberately questioning initial frames of reference and resetting expectations based on independent standards, the mind can approach decisions more rationally. Anchoring cannot be eliminated, but it can be tempered with disciplined recalibration. The availability heuristic demonstrates how the mind misjudges probability based on vivid or recent experiences. A vivid story of a plane crash can inflate fear of flying, even when statistics overwhelmingly favor air travel safety. Friends' success with a particular investment may unduly influence personal financial choices, while countless unseen failures remain invisible. Recognizing this bias requires perspective. Deliberately check statistics, seek long-term patterns, and differentiate between anecdotal and systematic evidence. When facing decisions, pause and ask, am I responding to what is memorable or what is accurate? The answer shifts decisions from emotional reaction to informed reasoning. Framing bias affects how choices are perceived, depending on presentation. The same outcome can seem attractive or undesirable, depending on whether it is framed as a gain or a loss. A business proposal emphasizing potential revenue may receive a more enthusiastic response than one emphasizing equivalent risk mitigation. This bias shapes perception subtly, yet powerfully, steering judgment without conscious awareness. To counter framing effects, consciously reframe decisions in multiple ways. Consider both positive and negative outcomes, benefits and costs. By practicing mental reframing, the mind expands its capacity for objective evaluation. Practical experience strengthens bias awareness. One exercise is a decision journal designed specifically for identifying biases. Each decision, small or large, is recorded with 3 elements: the choice made, the reasoning behind it, and any biases that may have influenced it. Review the journal weekly, noting recurring patterns. For instance, if overconfidence repeatedly leads to underestimating resources or time, the recognition itself becomes a corrective tool. This practice is not theoretical. It builds metacognition, the ability to observe thought processes objectively. Awareness precedes improvement, and structured reflection trains the mind to notice automatic tendencies before they dominate action. A real-world illustration helps clarify these concepts. A marketing manager, confident in intuition, launches a campaign based on recent viral trends without considering historical engagement data. Early performance indicators are favorable, reinforcing confirmation bias, but within weeks, conversion rates stagnate. Reviewing the decision journal, the manager identifies anchoring on initial metrics and failure to consider broader evidence. By adjusting the campaign with additional data and consulting peers, performance improves. This scenario demonstrates how cognitive biases operate subtly, but can be managed effectively through deliberate reflection and structured feedback. The impact of biases is compounded under stress or fatigue. Sleep deprivation, emotional strain, or urgent deadlines amplify reliance on heuristics and shortcuts. In high-pressure moments, the mind favors speed over accuracy, and biases become more pronounced. Strategies to mitigate this include deliberate pauses, physical reset through deep breathing or brief movement, and segmenting decisions into smaller, manageable parts. Breaking down complex choices reduces cognitive load, allowing the mind to apply reasoned evaluation rather than reactive impulse. The disciplined individual develops routines that protect critical decision-making from the distortions of stress. Bias recognition is not an intellectual exercise, it is a discipline that shapes results. Each bias noticed is a step towards self-mastery. Over time, the effort to identify and counter biases transforms decision-making from guesswork to skill, producing faster, more accurate, and more confident outcomes. The mind, once a source of unseen errors, becomes a tool of clarity, aligning instinct, analysis, and reflection into coherent action. Each choice is an opportunity to exercise awareness, to train judgment, and to reinforce the habit of reason over reaction. Mastery over biases is mastery over one's decision-making destiny. To apply these lessons immediately, a single practical exercise can accelerate skill acquisition. For the next week, each decision is analyzed for potential bias. Before finalizing any choice, ask, which cognitive shortcuts might be influencing me? Am I privileging familiar or vivid information? Am I anchored by prior numbers or assumptions? After the decision, reflect briefly in writing. Small, deliberate application compounds rapidly, turning awareness into an automatic filter for future choices. Within days, the mind starts to recognize patterns, intervene when bias appears, and produce decisions that are both swift and sound. Over months, this practice yields a resilient, disciplined approach to action, the kind of mental acuity that transforms ordinary choices into strategic advantage. Recognizing cognitive biases is not a one-time achievement. It is an ongoing process of observation, reflection, and correction. The mind is fluid, and life constantly presents new contexts in which biases may emerge differently. Each encounter with a bias is an opportunity to practice vigilance and strengthen mental habits. Over time, decisions become faster because awareness eliminates hesitation caused by invisible distortions. Stress diminishes because the mind no longer struggles blindly against itself. Clarity emerges not by removing intuition or emotion, but by learning to guide them consciously. Mastery over cognitive biases is mastery over self, a foundation upon which better decisions, faster and more precise, are built every single day. Chapter 3: The Power of Clarity. Clarity is the secret engine behind every decisive action. When our mind is foggy, decisions feel like navigating a storm with no compass. Every option seems equal, every outcome uncertain, and the weight of choice can paralyze us. The first step in mastering fast, effective decision-making is understanding what we truly want. Without clarity, Even rapid choices can lead us away from meaningful progress, leaving us exhausted, frustrated, and trapped in cycles of regret. Clarity is not a luxury, it is a skill, a discipline we cultivate, and a lens through which all decisions become more precise and aligned with our values. To gain clarity, the mind must pause and separate essentials from noise. Goals are often vague or scattered across different domains, making it difficult to evaluate what matters most in any moment. Take a moment to inventory your priorities: career, health, relationships, financial security, personal growth. Write them down in order of importance, without judgment or compromise. Seeing priorities on paper transforms abstract ideas into concrete reference points. Once priorities are visible, decisions become easier because the mind can ask a single, clarifying question: which option brings me closer to my highest priority right now? This question filters the noise and guides us toward action that matters rather than activity that simply consumes time. Values act as a guiding star in this process. Many decisions fail, not because of lack of intelligence or effort, but because they conflict with core values we barely articulate. When faced with a choice, pause to consider: does this align with our principles? Will it preserve our integrity, respect others, and foster growth? Misaligned decisions may provide short-term gain, but erode trust, confidence, and self-respect over time. Imagine choosing a high-paying project that demands constant compromise of personal ethics. Without clarity on values, the apparent reward may blind us, but the internal friction grows, diminishing satisfaction and focus. Awareness of values functions as an internal radar, signaling which paths will ultimately support long-term fulfillment and which will create tension and regret. Breaking decisions into smaller, actionable steps enhances clarity further. Large decisions can feel overwhelming, making it hard to see which path is best. By identifying the first tangible step toward each option, we reveal practical realities that may not have been obvious. For example, if considering a career shift, list the concrete actions required for each potential path: researching industries, updating skills, networking, or financial planning. Each step provides additional information and perspective, making abstract choices tangible. The process of decomposition reduces anxiety because it transforms decisions into sequences of manageable actions rather than a monolithic, paralyzing leap. Visualization is a powerful tool to sharpen clarity. Mentally simulate the outcomes of different choices, not superficially, but in vivid, sensory detail. Imagine the daily rhythm, the conversations, the successes, and the obstacles you would encounter in each scenario. Feel the energy, frustration, and satisfaction as if living through the choice. This technique illuminates hidden challenges and confirms which paths resonate with your priorities and values. Our emotional system reacts strongly to imagined realities, providing insight that purely rational analysis may miss. Decisions become easier when we can anticipate not just logical outcomes, but the lived experience each choice entails. A practical exercise that strengthens clarity is a decision alignment chart. For each important choice, list the options on one axis and your core priorities and values on the other. Score how well each option supports each priority or aligns with each value, even on a simple scale of 1 to 5. Summing these scores provides an immediate visual representation of which choices resonate most deeply with your authentic objectives. This method eliminates guesswork, revealing alignment patterns that may have been hidden under intuition or habit. Over time, the mind internalizes this alignment process, producing rapid clarity without external tools. Real-life examples demonstrate the transformative power of clarity. Consider a small business owner deciding whether to expand into a new market. Without defined priorities, The decision seems risky and uncertain, fraught with unknown costs and potential failure. But when the owner clarifies that long-term growth, brand reputation, and employee development are top priorities, the choice becomes clearer. Each potential market is evaluated through these lenses. Does it provide sustainable growth? Will it challenge the team without compromising morale? Does it uphold the brand promise? The clarity gained allows the owner to move confidently, reducing second-guessing and improving execution. The result is not just a faster decision, but a better one, aligned with purpose and vision. Clarity also requires letting go of irrelevant options and external noise. Modern life bombards us with suggestions, comparisons, and social pressures. Every piece of advice or trend can feel urgent, but not all information is relevant. Discernment is crucial. Ask, does this factor directly affect my priorities or values? If not, remove it from consideration. The act of pruning creates mental space, enabling sharper focus. Clarity thrives in simplicity. Excess complexity clouds judgment. Minimalism sharpens it. By eliminating peripheral distractions, we allow the mind to operate with precision and confidence. Time management intersects with clarity in critical ways. Decisions made under artificial scarcity often suffer from stress-induced distortion. Allocate dedicated periods for important choices when mental energy is high, and reduce interruptions during this window. A decision made with a clear mind in a quiet, controlled environment is far more aligned than one made hurriedly under pressure. Establishing routines for reflective clarity ensures that decisions are not only faster, but more strategic, blending efficiency with alignment. Accountability strengthens clarity. Sharing intentions with trusted partners or mentors forces articulation of priorities and values. External feedback can reveal blind spots and test whether stated objectives match action. When we verbalize choices, the mind must clarify reasoning and consistency. Accountability creates a mirror, reflecting gaps between intention and understanding. Combined with internal reflection, this social practice accelerates clarity and reinforces disciplined decision-making. The intersection of clarity and emotion cannot be ignored. Emotions signal what matters deeply, but can also mislead if unchecked. The practice of labeling emotions during decision-making, noting fear, excitement, or resistance, allows for conscious evaluation rather than reacting to emotional surges. Observe them as data. A fear-driven choice may require pause and additional analysis. Excitement may indicate alignment with intrinsic motivation. Using emotion as a guide, rather than a driver, produces faster, more confident decisions grounded in reality rather than impulse. Clarity is cultivated, not found. It demands continuous reflection, honesty, and discipline. Each choice becomes an opportunity to refine understanding of what truly matters. By codifying priorities, articulating values, decomposing options, visualizing outcomes, and pruning irrelevancies, decisions transform from stress-laden dilemmas into purposeful actions. The practice aligns mind, emotion, and context, producing confidence, speed, and precision. Over time, clarity becomes an internal compass, enabling choices that feel natural, yet are strategically sound. Life becomes less about reactive wandering and more about deliberate navigation, with each decision reinforcing purpose and fostering consistent growth. By dedicating even 10 minutes a day to reflection, alignment exercises, or visualization, the ability to achieve clarity improves exponentially. Decisions begin to resolve quickly because the mind recognizes the signals that matter, filters out the distractions, and acts decisively. Every choice becomes a deliberate expression of values and priorities rather than a response to external noise or internal chaos. Mastery of clarity does not remove challenges, but it equips us to face them with calm, informed, and unshakable focus. Each decision, aligned with true objectives, becomes a building block of meaningful progress, ensuring that speed never comes at the expense of wisdom or purpose. Chapter 4. Rapid Risk Assessment. Risk is an inseparable companion to every meaningful decision. Every choice carries potential rewards and potential consequences, and learning to navigate this balance swiftly is essential for effective action. Humans naturally gravitate toward extremes, either freezing under the weight of perceived danger or rushing headlong into opportunity without sufficient evaluation. Rapid risk assessment is the skill that allows us to move decisively while still respecting reality, combining careful evaluation with swift judgment. It is not about eliminating uncertainty that is impossible, but about understanding the probability and impact of outcomes so that action is informed, calculated, and confident. The first step in mastering rapid risk assessment is learning to separate magnitude from probability. Many of us exaggerate rare disasters and underestimate likely challenges, letting imagination distort reality. Consider investing. A viral story of sudden loss can make us freeze, while the slow, predictable erosion of value over time goes unnoticed. To make better decisions fast, we must assign a rough probability to each potential outcome and pair it with its significance. Not every risk matters equally. Some have low impact even if highly probable, and some are severe even if unlikely. Recognizing this distinction allows prioritization of attention toward the risks that truly matter, rather than squandering energy on negligible possibilities. Simplification is essential when evaluating risk. It is easy to drown in details, imagining every conceivable contingency. Overthinking small factors can delay decisions indefinitely. A practical technique is to reduce each option to 3 variables: best case outcome, worst case outcome, and most probable outcome. This triad provides a clear frame without creating analysis paralysis. By focusing on the extremes and the expected scenario, we see a spectrum of consequences quickly, allowing a realistic yet actionable understanding of the situation. The mind can then weigh whether the potential benefits justify moving forward without wasting time in endless speculation. Context is also critical in risk evaluation. Risks do not exist in a vacuum. A decision that is tolerable in one environment may be catastrophic in another. Consider launching a new product. The risk may be minimal if tested in a small, controlled market, but far higher if rolled out nationwide immediately. Awareness of context requires both observation and judgment, and it allows us to scale decisions to manageable levels. Small-scale experiments, prototypes or pilot programs reduce exposure while providing valuable insight. By managing context proactively, we turn potentially overwhelming risk into calculated opportunity. Probabilistic thinking is a cornerstone of rapid risk assessment. While we cannot predict the future with certainty, we can estimate likelihoods and prepare accordingly. For example, when negotiating a contract, consider both the probability that the other party will accept terms and the impact if they do not. Estimating probabilities does not require complex mathematics. Rough assessments suffice to prioritize actions. Probabilistic reasoning transforms fear into strategy, allowing us to allocate energy and resources efficiently. It is not about obsessing over percentages, but about cultivating a mindset that sees uncertainty as structured rather than chaotic. Rapid decision-making also benefits from predefined thresholds. Before a choice arises, determine the level of risk that is acceptable. This is akin to creating a guardrail, It constrains options and accelerates decisions because the mind already knows what level of exposure is tolerable. For instance, a small business owner may decide in advance that any investment exceeding 10% of monthly revenue requires additional review, while smaller allocations can be approved immediately. By setting these parameters, we avoid hesitation in the moment while maintaining control over outcomes. A practice that sharpens rapid risk assessment involves scenario mapping. For the next week, take 3 decisions each day, personal, professional, or minor, and for each, sketch the best case, worst case, and most probable outcomes. Assign a rough value to each, such as impact on time, money, or relationships. Then determine whether the expected reward justifies the exposure. This exercise builds the mental reflex of evaluating risk quickly and intuitively, so that when a high-stakes decision arises, the process is automatic, accurate, and fast. Over time, we begin to internalize patterns of risk and reward, enabling confident judgments under pressure. Real-world examples illustrate the power of rapid risk assessment. Consider a software startup deciding whether to launch a beta version of a new product. The team weighs potential benefits, new feedback, market penetration, and early revenue against possible drawbacks, technical glitches, reputational harm, and resource strain. Instead of analyzing every minute detail of the code or market, the team identifies the 3 scenarios: best case, worst case, and most likely case. The worst case scenario is manageable because errors can be patched and users are informed. The decision is made to proceed, the launch occurs, and the feedback generates insights that accelerate product refinement. By assessing risk quickly yet effectively, the team acts decisively without being reckless. Another critical aspect is emotional regulation during risk evaluation. Fear, excitement, and urgency can distort perception. Adrenaline heightens the sense of danger, while desire exaggerates reward. Techniques such as brief pauses, deep breathing, or even stepping away from the situation for a few minutes can restore perspective. When emotions are stabilized, the mind evaluates probability and impact more accurately. Emotional discipline is as important as analytical clarity in rapid risk assessment because it prevents impulsive swings that can undermine good judgment. Delegation can enhance rapid risk evaluation. When the stakes are high, distributing the analysis to those with specialized knowledge allows for quicker, more reliable assessments. A construction manager may rely on engineers to estimate structural risk rather than attempting to calculate it personally. Delegation is not avoidance. It is strategic allocation of expertise to reduce uncertainty efficiently. Knowing when to consult and when to act independently is part of mastering fast, responsible decision-making. Visualization complements analysis by allowing us to experience potential outcomes mentally. Imagine walking through each scenario in detail: how resources are allocated, how people respond, what obstacles arise. This mental simulation provides insight into risks that are otherwise invisible on paper. By engaging imagination alongside rational evaluation, we uncover weak points, anticipate challenges, and identify mitigations, all without physical exposure. This combination of foresight and imagination allows rapid assessment without rushing blindly into uncertainty. Ultimately, rapid risk assessment is a skill rooted in preparation, discipline, and pattern recognition. By training ourselves to quickly identify potential consequences, assign probability, and weigh significance, we transform uncertainty from a paralyzing force into a manageable variable. Decisions that once felt overwhelming become navigable, and hesitation is replaced with confident, timely action. Life presents a continuous flow of choices, and the ability to assess risk rapidly is the bridge between opportunity and achievement. Through consistent practice, we develop intuition supported by methodical reasoning. Every decision, from minor daily choices to major strategic moves, is an opportunity to exercise this skill. The mind begins to recognize patterns. The body responds with calm focus rather than stress, and action becomes both swift and wise. By integrating structured scenario analysis, emotional regulation, probabilistic thinking, and predefined thresholds, we cultivate a decision-making process that is faster, more accurate, and resilient under pressure. Rapid risk assessment transforms how we engage with uncertainty, turning hesitation into clarity, doubt into strategy, and opportunity into results. Each moment becomes a chance to act decisively, with courage tempered by reason and confidence grounded in preparation. Chapter 5: Decision-Making Frameworks. Decision-making is rarely about instinct alone. It thrives on structure. While intuition can guide us, the use of clear frameworks allows us to process options, weigh consequences, and act with both speed and precision. A framework does not remove responsibility or creativity. Rather, it channels thinking, reduces wasted energy, and provides a reliable mental roadmap. Without structure, decisions are more prone to hesitation, distraction, and bias. With the right frameworks, we cultivate a disciplined, repeatable process that produces consistently better results and accelerates action. The Eisenhower matrix is one of the simplest yet most powerful tools for prioritization. It divides tasks into 4 quadrants: urgent and important, important but not urgent, urgent but not important, and neither urgent nor important. By categorizing choices along these lines, we can quickly determine what requires immediate attention, what can be scheduled, what should be delegated, and what should be eliminated entirely. The power of this framework lies in its clarity. It transforms a long, amorphous list of options into actionable categories, allowing the mind to operate efficiently under pressure. Using it daily trains us to recognize the difference between true priorities and distractions, making fast decisions more accurate and aligned with our goals. The Audiobook is another framework that emphasizes speed and adaptability, especially in dynamic environments. It stands for observe, orient, decide, and act, creating a continuous cycle of situational awareness and response. The first step, observe, involves gathering relevant information without judgment or assumption. Orienting is the process of interpreting this information, considering context, experience, and priorities. Decide is the point of commitment, where one option is chosen based on the analysis. Act is the execution phase, followed immediately by renewed observation, completing the loop. This iterative approach allows us to respond to changing circumstances quickly while maintaining control over outcomes. It cultivates a mindset that balances decisiveness with flexibility, ensuring that speed does not come at the cost of oversight. The Pareto principle, or the 80-20 rule, provides insight into where effort produces the greatest results. In decision-making, it reminds us that not all options or tasks are equal. Roughly 20% of our actions often drive 80% of outcomes. By identifying and focusing on these high-impact choices, we eliminate wasted effort and accelerate progress. This principle is especially valuable in situations with numerous competing demands, where the temptation is to spread attention thin. By concentrating on what truly moves the needle, we act decisively and with maximum efficiency, avoiding the trap of spending hours on decisions that yield minimal return. Applying frameworks in practice requires intentionality and repetition. A simple exercise is to take 3 decisions each day and analyze them using one framework. For example, list all current tasks or decisions and place each into the Eisenhower matrix. Identify the top priority items that require immediate attention, delegate what can be passed on, schedule the important but non-urgent items, and eliminate what is irrelevant. Doing this consistently develops a mental reflex. When new choices emerge, the mind instinctively categorizes and prioritizes, reducing hesitation and increasing speed. Real-world application of these frameworks illustrates their transformative impact. Consider a project manager overseeing multiple teams and deadlines. Without structure, decisions about resource allocation, scheduling, and problem-solving can feel overwhelming, leading to delayed action and inefficiency. By applying the Eisenhower matrix, the manager identifies the tasks that directly affect project success and deadlines, delegates minor operational issues to team leads, schedules future planning sessions for non-urgent strategic work, and removes unnecessary meetings and approvals. The result is a faster, smoother workflow with reduced stress and clearer accountability. Similarly, a startup founder operating in a fast-paced market benefits from the Audiobook. Market conditions change rapidly, competitor moves are unpredictable, and customer feedback evolves daily. By systematically observing market trends, orienting based on internal capabilities and strategic goals, deciding on the most viable course of action, and acting immediately, the founder maintains agility without succumbing to chaos. Continuous iteration ensures that decisions are not final statements, but adaptive responses, enhancing both speed and effectiveness. The Pareto principle comes into play in resource optimization. A salesperson with numerous potential leads may find that a small subset of clients consistently generates the majority of revenue. By recognizing this pattern, they can focus attention, follow-up, and negotiation efforts on the high-value prospects, accelerating results without unnecessary energy expenditure. Decisions about which clients to prioritize become faster, data-driven, and strategically aligned with the overall goal of revenue growth. These frameworks also integrate seamlessly with emotional discipline and stress management. When the mind feels pressured, having a reliable method reduces the cognitive load, enabling faster processing without sacrificing accuracy. The mental friction caused by indecision diminishes because the framework provides a pre-established path for action. In essence, the structure frees mental bandwidth, allowing creativity, judgment, and strategic thinking to operate unhindered by panic or overwhelm. A practical technique for reinforcing framework-based decision-making involves a weekly review. At the end of each week, review all major choices made and classify them according to the frameworks applied. Did urgent tasks overshadow important long-term goals? Were opportunities acted on swiftly using the Audiobook? Did effort align with impact according to the Pareto principle? Reflection strengthens pattern recognition and internalizes the frameworks, transforming structured thinking into instinctive capability. Over time, these frameworks are no longer tools that must be consciously applied. They become ingrained mental pathways, producing faster, smarter decisions automatically. Frameworks do not eliminate uncertainty, nor do they promise flawless outcomes. What they do is provide a consistent, repeatable lens for evaluation, reducing wasted time, cognitive strain, and emotional turbulence. They give a roadmap through complexity, allowing us to focus on what matters most, anticipate challenges, and act with confidence. Decisions made through structured frameworks are faster, not because they bypass thought, but because they channel it, converting mental energy into precise, deliberate action. By combining multiple frameworks, we gain complementary advantages. The Eisenhower matrix structures attention and prioritization. The Audiobook cultivates adaptive speed, and the Pareto principle directs focus toward high-impact opportunities. Together they form a comprehensive system for navigating complexity efficiently. Daily application of these frameworks trains the mind to recognize patterns, filter noise, and act decisively even when information is incomplete or conditions are volatile. This synergy transforms decision-making from a reactive struggle into a disciplined, proactive practice. Each decision is an opportunity to practice alignment, speed, and precision. Structured thinking builds confidence because the process itself reduces uncertainty and fear of error. Over time, fast, framework-driven decisions reinforce one another, creating a cumulative advantage in both personal and professional spheres. Mastery of these methods does not remove challenges, but it equips us to face them with clarity, resilience, and strategic foresight. Decisions become less about guesswork and more about execution, guided by insight, allowing us to move forward with both speed and intelligence, turning complexity into actionable opportunity and transforming hesitation into decisive progress. Chapter 6. Leveraging intuition. Intuition is often misunderstood as mystical or purely emotional, but in reality, it is the distilled experience of our subconscious, a rapid synthesis of patterns recognized over time. It is the mind's way of processing countless pieces of information simultaneously and producing a sense of direction in situations where conscious reasoning may be too slow. Leveraging intuition does not mean abandoning logic or data. It means learning to recognize when instinct reflects accumulated expertise and when it requires careful verification. This skill allows decisions to be made quickly without sacrificing accuracy, providing a crucial advantage in both everyday life and high-stakes environments. The first step in leveraging intuition is recognizing its origins. Every gut feeling is grounded in prior experience, observation, and practice. A seasoned chef, for example, can taste a dish and know instantly whether it is balanced, because thousands of hours of cooking have trained the senses to detect patterns that the conscious mind could take minutes to analyze. Similarly, a seasoned investor may sense a market trend before it is evident in numerical data, because years of observing patterns have trained subconscious recognition. Intuition is not guessing, it is rapid, subconscious pattern recognition, honed through deliberate experience. Intuition becomes most powerful when combined with structured thinking. Pure gut reactions can be misleading, especially in unfamiliar situations. The key is to allow the first instinct to emerge, observe the initial judgment, and then validate it through a quick check against facts, priorities, and potential consequences. This approach merges the speed of instinct with the reliability of logic. For instance, in urgent business decisions, an executive might feel an immediate preference for a particular strategy. Instead of acting blindly, they can pause to consider market data, resource availability, and alignment with long-term objectives. Often the instinct is confirmed and the decision proceeds rapidly. When discrepancies appear, intuition is refined or adjusted, producing better outcomes faster than reasoning alone could achieve. Intuition is particularly effective when we operate in familiar domains. Expertise transforms repeated patterns into subconscious cues that guide judgment automatically. In a professional context, this means that honing skills, deepening knowledge, and accumulating relevant experiences strengthen intuitive decision-making. A project manager who has overseen multiple product launches can sense early warning signs of failure before metrics even appear. Their intuition alerts them to potential issues that can be addressed proactively, demonstrating how trained instincts function as an early warning system and decision accelerator. Emotional awareness enhances intuition. Feelings of discomfort, excitement, or hesitation are often signals from the subconscious that something is misaligned with experience, values, or environmental cues. Learning to interpret these sensations critically is essential. A moment of unease may highlight a risk that has been subconsciously registered, while excitement can indicate alignment with goals and strengths. The practice is to notice these emotions without reacting impulsively, then analyze whether they are grounded in reality or distorted by temporary bias or stress. This awareness refines intuition, ensuring that gut feelings are informed rather than arbitrary. A practical exercise to strengthen intuitive judgment is the Quick Decision Journal. For 1 week, record every significant decision made within a limited time frame. Note the initial instinct, the rationale that emerged consciously, the action taken, and the outcome. Over time, patterns appear. Certain instincts consistently align with successful results, while others reflect bias or error. Reviewing the journal develops metacognition, the ability to observe your own thought processes, training the mind to trust reliable instincts and question misleading ones. This exercise bridges intuition with reflective learning, producing faster, more accurate decision-making habits. Real-world examples illustrate the power of combining intuition with reasoning. Consider an emergency room physician faced with a critical patient. Decades of experience allow them to immediately recognize subtle signs that indicate a life-threatening condition. Their initial instinct guides the immediate intervention, but decisions are then checked against medical protocols, lab results, and consultation with colleagues. The speed of instinct combined with methodical validation often saves lives. This demonstrates that intuition, when leveraged thoughtfully, accelerates action without sacrificing precision or safety. Intuition also benefits from mental clarity and focus. A cluttered mind, fatigued brain, or emotional overload impairs instinctual judgment. Practices such as brief meditation, deep breathing, or taking a short walk before important decisions restore cognitive balance, allowing intuitive insights to surface clearly. These simple habits do not delay action, they sharpen perception and ensure that instinct reflects accumulated experience rather than noise or stress. By preparing the mind, we create optimal conditions for intuitive responses to be accurate, rapid, and reliable. Leveraging intuition requires acknowledging its limits. In unfamiliar domains or complex scenarios with insufficient experience, instinct may mislead. In these situations, it must be supplemented with structured analysis, consultation, and data verification. Recognizing when intuition is reliable and when it needs support is a key part of disciplined decision-making. Over time, however, repeated application, reflection, and learning expand the domain in which intuition can operate confidently, reducing hesitation and accelerating action across more areas of life. Time pressure is where intuition shines. When decisions must be made quickly, relying solely on deliberate reasoning is often impractical. Trained instincts allow the mind to synthesize available information, detect patterns, and produce actionable guidance in moments. This speed is not reckless. It is grounded in experience, observation, and past outcomes. The more practice we have in relevant situations, the more trustworthy these rapid judgments become. This creates a powerful feedback loop. Faster decisions lead to more experience, which further sharpens intuitive skill. The combination of intuition and logic can be integrated into daily life seamlessly. Begin by consciously noting gut reactions during routine decisions, from choosing which project to prioritize to selecting a negotiation strategy. Pause briefly to ask, does this instinct align with facts, objectives, and priorities? If it does, act decisively. If it does not, refine the decision by incorporating logical evaluation. Over time, this process becomes automatic. Instincts guide us swiftly. Logic validates effectively, and the mind operates with both speed and accuracy. The result is a consistent flow of rapid, well-informed decisions that reflect both expertise and discipline. Intuition is not a substitute for learning. It is the culmination of experience, observation, and reflection distilled into immediate insight. Every decision made, analyzed, and reflected upon strengthens this internal compass. Each success builds confidence in the subconscious patterns that guide judgment, while each misstep provides data to refine instincts. This iterative process produces a mind capable of responding with agility, insight, and precision, even in unfamiliar or high-pressure circumstances. Intuition, when harnessed deliberately, becomes a strategic ally in decision-making. Ultimately, leveraging intuition is about cultivating trust in the mind's internal database while maintaining disciplined oversight. It balances rapid response with reasoned validation, blending instinct and analysis into coherent action. By practicing reflection, tracking outcomes, and maintaining mental clarity, we create conditions for instinct to operate reliably. Decisions become faster, more accurate, and aligned with priorities because we are no longer dependent on hesitation or uncertainty. Intuition, grounded in experience and sharpened through conscious practice, transforms the speed of decision-making into a force for consistent, effective, and confident action. Chapter 7. Managing stress under pressure. Pressure is inevitable. Life, work, and relationships constantly present us with moments where decisions must be made quickly, often under conditions of uncertainty, high stakes, or scrutiny. The mind naturally reacts to stress with heightened alertness, which can be both a blessing and a curse. On one hand, stress mobilizes energy and sharpens focus. On the other, it can overwhelm reasoning, distort perception, and trigger panic. Managing stress under pressure is not about eliminating tension. It is about channeling it, transforming physiological and emotional responses into a source of clarity, resilience, and decisive action. Those who master stress become capable of making better decisions faster because they do not succumb to fear, distraction, or overthinking. The first step in managing pressure is awareness of the body's response. Stress manifests physically: accelerated heartbeat, shallow breathing, muscle tension, and a surge of adrenaline. These reactions are instinctual, a survival mechanism designed to prepare us for urgent action. Recognizing them is crucial because once the mind notices the signals, it can intervene. A simple technique is controlled breathing, inhaling deeply for 4 counts, holding for 2, and exhaling slowly for 6 counts. This not only reduces heart rate and muscle tension, but also signals the nervous system to shift from reactive mode to deliberate focus. By regulating the body, the mind gains space to process information and weigh options more clearly. Cognitive framing is another tool for maintaining composure. How we perceive a high-pressure situation greatly influences our ability to act effectively. Viewing stress as an opportunity rather than a threat changes the physiological response from constrictive anxiety to energizing focus. For example, athletes often reframe pre-game nerves as readiness to perform rather than fear of failure. In decision-making, this reframing allows us to approach challenges with curiosity, assessment, and adaptability instead of panic. The mind begins to see high-stakes moments not as paralyzing trials, but as tests of skill and preparation, encouraging rapid, confident choices. Preparation amplifies the capacity to remain calm under stress. When uncertainty is reduced through anticipation, training, and knowledge, the mind does not scramble in the moment. For instance, a financial manager facing sudden market volatility will respond more effectively if contingency plans, risk thresholds, and protocols have been pre-established. Preparation builds confidence, which buffers against emotional hijacking. It transforms pressure from an unknown force into a familiar scenario that can be navigated efficiently. Focus under pressure requires prioritization and simplification. When overwhelmed by multiple variables, the mind can become paralyzed by complexity. Effective decision makers identify the most critical factors, the few elements that will have the largest impact, and concentrate exclusively on them. This mirrors the Pareto principle: not all pressures carry equal weight. By isolating what truly matters, distractions and minor details are filtered out, allowing rapid, informed action. This disciplined narrowing of attention turns a high-pressure storm into a manageable set of actionable steps. Mental rehearsal enhances both focus and resilience. Visualizing the decision-making process before entering a high-pressure situation allows the brain to simulate potential outcomes, practice responses, and anticipate challenges. This internal simulation trains neural pathways, making the mind more agile and responsive when real-time choices arise. For example, a public speaker can imagine handling difficult questions or technical glitches during a presentation. By rehearsing mentally, the individual reduces uncertainty and stress, making decisions in the moment faster and more confident because the mind has already experienced them. A practical exercise to strengthen stress management in decision-making is the pressure simulation drill. Each week, identify a routine choice and impose a short time limit, simulating urgency. Record your emotional state, physical sensations, and decision process. After completing the decision, reflect on what triggered tension and how the mind and body responded. Repeat this exercise, gradually increasing the complexity or stakes. Over time, the mind learns to operate effectively under stress, recognizing tension as a cue for heightened focus rather than a signal to freeze. This builds both speed and accuracy in pressured decision-making. Real-life examples illustrate these principles. Consider a pilot navigating unexpected turbulence while preparing to land. Decisions must be immediate, precise, and coordinated with a crew. Physical stress is intense as heart rates rise and attention narrows. By relying on training, established procedures, and clear prioritization, the pilot remains composed, communicates effectively, and executes the correct maneuvers. Mental rehearsal and familiarity with procedures convert potential chaos into a controlled, responsive process. Outcomes are safer and more reliable because stress is managed and channeled into effective action rather than reaction. Another domain where pressure is common is in high-stakes business negotiations. When deadlines loom and critical outcomes hang in the balance, negotiators can be tempted to rush, overreact, or allow emotions to dominate. Those who perform best under pressure maintain calm by focusing on core objectives, adhering to established strategies, and regulating breathing and mental framing. Stress is acknowledged but contained. Decisions are made with clarity, timing is precise, and responses are measured rather than impulsive. The ability to manage pressure directly translates into better choices, faster agreements, and more favorable outcomes. Stress management also benefits from external supports. Seeking input from trusted colleagues or mentors can reduce perceived pressure by sharing responsibility and providing perspective. Collaboration under pressure does not dilute accountability. It distributes cognitive load and supplies additional insight. When combined with internal regulation techniques, external consultation allows for quicker, more confident decision-making while mitigating the risks of reactive, stress-driven errors. Micro-breaks are another essential technique. Even brief pauses of a few seconds to stretch, breathe, or shift focus can reset mental and physical tension, preventing the escalation of stress into panic. These small interventions maintain cognitive clarity, improve attention, and preserve the ability to weigh options objectively. High-pressure decision-making is often about sustaining optimal mental function, not about eliminating stress entirely. Intermittent reset strategies keep the mind agile and resilient. Self-talk also plays a critical role. The language used internally shapes perception of the situation. Affirmations that emphasize competence, preparation, and focus counteract negative spirals of doubt and anxiety. Repeating concise, empowering phrases like "I can handle this" or "focus on what matters most" stabilizes emotional state and sharpens attention. Internal dialogue becomes a tool for clarity rather than a source of distraction. Ultimately, managing stress under pressure is about converting energy into effective action. Awareness of physical responses, cognitive reframing, preparation, focus, mental rehearsal, strategic micro-breaks, external consultation, and disciplined self-talk all work together to create a state where the mind remains agile, decisive, and resilient. Stress becomes a signal, a source of heightened awareness rather than an impediment. The disciplined individual learns to navigate uncertainty with poise, making choices that are both faster and more accurate because the mind operates from a position of clarity and composure rather than panic or confusion. Mastering this skill requires consistent practice and reflection. Each high-pressure situation is an opportunity to test, refine, and reinforce techniques. Over time, the mind and body adapt. Stress responses are calibrated, and decision-making becomes increasingly rapid without sacrificing quality. The ability to remain calm, focused, and decisive under pressure transforms challenges from obstacles into platforms for action, growth, and achievement. Stress ceases to control us. Instead, it becomes a catalyst for clear, confident, and timely decisions, enabling consistent progress in both personal and professional pursuits. Chapter 8. Learning from mistakes quickly. Mistakes are often viewed as failures, but in reality, they are some of the most potent tools for sharpening decision-making. Every poor choice carries embedded lessons, insights about timing, priorities, risk assessment, emotional triggers, and cognitive blind spots. The difference between someone who stagnates and someone who improves lies in how quickly they analyze errors, extract lessons, and apply them to future decisions. Learning from mistakes is not about dwelling on regret. It is about transforming each misstep into actionable intelligence, increasing both speed and quality of subsequent choices. The first step in this process is immediate reflection. The moment a decision produces an undesirable outcome, pause and examine it carefully. What information was overlooked? Which assumptions were flawed? Which emotions influenced the choice? By dissecting the situation quickly, before memories fade or rationalizations obscure facts, the mind can capture insights with greater fidelity. This practice turns mistakes into precise data points rather than vague regrets. Writing down observations, even in bullet points, anchors the lesson and allows comparison across multiple decisions, revealing patterns that accelerate learning over time. Accountability is crucial in learning from mistakes. Recognizing personal responsibility rather than shifting blame empowers us to make meaningful changes. When we own decisions fully, we are motivated to identify what went wrong and how to avoid similar pitfalls. This ownership does not breed self-criticism. Instead, it fosters clarity, honesty, and intentional adaptation. Accountability paired with reflection transforms errors from obstacles into stepping stones for accelerated improvement. Another vital aspect is timing the analysis appropriately. While immediate reflection captures the fresh details, stepping back after a short interval allows emotional detachment. Emotions such as disappointment, frustration, or embarrassment can cloud judgment if we analyze mistakes, while fully immersed in them. A brief pause, perhaps a day or a few hours, provides perspective, enabling a more objective assessment. Combining immediate capture with slightly delayed evaluation creates a balanced approach that extracts lessons efficiently without being hijacked by emotion. Patterns are where learning accelerates. One isolated mistake provides some insight, but repeated mistakes reveal systematic weaknesses or biases. By tracking decisions over time and noting which errors recur, we identify areas of the mind that require discipline, further knowledge, or new strategies. For example, someone might notice that rushed decisions consistently fail due to overlooked data. Recognizing this pattern allows them to implement specific corrective measures, such as structured checklists or mini-risk assessments, enhancing future performance and decision speed. Iteration is key to applying lessons. Learning is incomplete if insights do not influence subsequent decisions. After identifying what went wrong, experiment with new approaches on similar choices. Test modifications quickly, observe outcomes, and adjust accordingly. Iteration turns theoretical understanding into practical skill, accelerating improvement. Each cycle of decision, reflection, and adjustment shortens the learning curve, making future judgments faster and more precise. Mistakes are no longer setbacks, they are catalysts for refinement. A practical exercise to strengthen rapid learning from mistakes is the decision retrospective. At the end of each week, select 2 or 3 decisions that produced suboptimal outcomes. Write down the decision, the reasoning at the time, the actual outcome, and the lesson learned. Next, list one concrete action to implement in similar future scenarios. Over weeks, this creates a living repository of personal decision intelligence. The process conditions the mind to evaluate errors methodically, preventing repeated missteps and fostering faster, more effective choices. Real-world examples demonstrate the power of rapid learning from mistakes. Consider a software developer who deploys a feature that causes unexpected bugs in production. Instead of blaming the team or lamenting the error, the developer immediately documents the decision process, identifies overlooked testing scenarios, and implements a new pre-deployment checklist. Future releases are smoother because lessons from the prior mistake are actively incorporated. This proactive approach reduces the likelihood of repeating errors and allows the developer to make faster, more confident decisions under pressure. Mistakes also reveal hidden assumptions. Many poor decisions stem not from lack of effort, but from unexamined beliefs about how the world operates. By analyzing errors, these assumptions come to light. For instance, a marketing manager might assume that a particular campaign style resonates universally, but negative results reveal that the audience responds differently. The discovery of such flawed assumptions allows recalibration of future strategies, accelerating both learning and effective action. Emotional resilience is intertwined with learning from mistakes. When errors are perceived as character flaws or personal failures, the mind freezes and learning slows. Developing the ability to detach identity from outcomes allows swift extraction of lessons without emotional obstruction. Resilient decision-makers approach mistakes with curiosity, asking, "What can I learn?" rather than "Why did this happen to me?" This mindset transforms pressure and disappointment into fuel for growth, enhancing both speed and quality of future decisions. Feedback amplifies the learning process. Seeking perspectives from colleagues, mentors, or trusted peers adds external insight that may be invisible internally. Others can identify overlooked consequences, patterns, or blind spots, accelerating the process of correction and refinement. Constructive feedback combined with self-reflection creates a comprehensive understanding of errors and their remedies, increasing confidence and decisiveness in subsequent choices. The speed of learning from mistakes directly influences the speed of future decisions. The faster we analyze, internalize, and iterate, the more quickly we build reliable heuristics and intuition. Over time, decisions that once required deliberate thought become instinctive, because the brain has already processed similar scenarios, learned from prior errors, and established patterns for rapid evaluation. Mistakes thus serve as accelerators, not obstacles, in the development of decision-making proficiency. The long-term benefit of this approach is cumulative improvement. Each misstep, once analyzed and internalized, reduces the likelihood of repeating the same error and strengthens the mind's ability to navigate uncertainty. Confidence grows because the brain develops a nuanced understanding of risk, context, and consequences. Decision-making becomes faster, more accurate, and less stressful, as each lesson builds a scaffold of knowledge and intuition that supports future action. Ultimately, learning from mistakes is about embracing imperfection while pursuing excellence. Errors are inevitable, but how we respond to them determines our trajectory. By reflecting immediately, maintaining accountability, identifying patterns, iterating solutions, leveraging feedback, and cultivating emotional resilience, each misstep becomes an opportunity for rapid growth. Mistakes are no longer feared. They are transformed into a structured mechanism for honing judgment, accelerating decision-making speed, and enhancing the quality of outcomes. This disciplined approach ensures that every choice, even if initially flawed, contributes to long-term mastery, creating a mindset where improvement is constant, deliberate, and inevitable. Chapter 9: Delegation and Collaboration. Decision-making is often framed as an individual act, but the truth is that most meaningful choices exist within a network of people, resources, and consequences. Knowing when to act alone and when to seek input is a critical skill that balances speed with effectiveness. Acting solo can accelerate decisions when clarity, expertise, and accountability are concentrated, but collaboration leverages multiple perspectives, spreads responsibility, and uncovers blind spots. Mastery of delegation and collaboration is not about avoiding responsibility, it is about optimizing the process so that each decision benefits from both efficiency and collective insight, producing better outcomes in less time. The first principle is recognizing the nature of the decision. Decisions that are routine, within one's core expertise, and have limited downstream impact can often be handled independently. Acting alone in such cases reduces delays, avoids unnecessary discussion, and strengthens confidence in your judgment. For example, choosing a supplier for a standard office supply order does not require extensive consultation. A decision based on past experience and quality metrics is sufficient. Acting decisively in these circumstances frees energy for more complex or high-impact choices, maintaining momentum and focus. Conversely, decisions that are strategic, multifaceted, or have broad consequences benefit from collaboration. Complex projects, organizational changes, or high-stakes negotiations often involve variables that one person cannot fully perceive. Seeking input from relevant stakeholders expands understanding, identifies potential pitfalls, and uncovers opportunities that may otherwise be overlooked. Collaboration is not indecision, it is structured intelligence gathering. By involving the right people, we accelerate the quality of decisions, reduce risk, and enhance buy-in for implementation, ensuring that action is both rapid and effective. Delegation is a complementary principle. Effective leaders and decision-makers recognize that time and cognitive resources are finite. Delegation allows parts of a decision process to be handled by those with specific expertise, freeing the primary decision-maker to focus on critical aspects or synthesis. Delegation requires clarity, communicate the desired outcome, provide context, and set boundaries. A manager deciding on a new marketing campaign may delegate data analysis to a team member skilled in metrics, while reserving strategic direction for themselves. This not only speeds the process, but also leverages specialized knowledge, producing a better informed decision in less time. The effectiveness of collaboration depends on selecting the right contributors. Not every opinion improves a decision. Input should be sought from those with relevant experience, insight, or responsibility. Consulting too broadly introduces noise, delays, and confusion. Prioritizing quality over quantity in collaboration ensures that additional perspectives enhance rather than hinder the decision-making process. Establishing clear roles and expectations prevents discussions from veering off course and maintains focus on the actionable outcome. Communication is central to both delegation and collaboration. Clear, concise articulation of objectives, constraints, and desired outcomes prevents misunderstandings and accelerates alignment. When seeking input, provide sufficient context, but avoid overloading collaborators with irrelevant details. Structured questions, targeted data, and defined timelines streamline the process, allowing others to contribute meaningfully without slowing momentum. Efficient communication transforms collective effort into rapid, high-quality decisions. A practical exercise to refine this skill is the decision mapping drill. Over the next week, identify 3 upcoming decisions and classify them, handle independently, seek collaboration, or delegate components. For collaborative decisions, identify 1 to 2 individuals whose expertise is most relevant. For delegated decisions, clearly define the task, expectations, and parameters. After executing the decisions, reflect on timing, quality, and outcomes. This practice strengthens judgment about when to act alone, when to involve others, and how to optimize both speed and effectiveness. Real-world examples demonstrate the power of strategic delegation and collaboration. Consider a product launch within a tech company. The product manager cannot personally handle design, coding, marketing, customer support, and logistics. Delegating each component to specialized teams while retaining decision authority over integration and prioritization allows the project to progress swiftly without sacrificing quality. Collaboration between departments ensures alignment, identifies potential bottlenecks, and leverages diverse expertise, resulting in a smoother, faster, and more successful launch than solitary decision-making could achieve. Another example is crisis management. A CEO responding to a sudden public relations issue must act quickly but cannot possibly oversee every detail alone. Consulting legal advisors, communications specialists, and operational managers provides crucial input while retaining central accountability for the decision. This structured collaboration accelerates accurate response, minimizes risk, and coordinates execution. Acting in isolation could delay critical decisions or overlook critical consequences, while unstructured consultation could cause confusion. Effective collaboration balances speed, accuracy, and clarity of responsibility. Timing plays a crucial role in balancing independence and collaboration. Some situations require immediate action, where consultation may introduce harmful delays. In these cases, relying on expertise, preparation, and intuition is appropriate. Other circumstances allow for brief but targeted consultation, where the slight delay is outweighed by the insights gained. Understanding the trade-off between speed and input allows the decision-maker to choose the most effective approach for the situation at hand, maintaining both agility and quality. Trust is another essential element. Delegation and collaboration require confidence in others' abilities and judgment. Micromanagement undermines efficiency, slows decisions, and breeds dependency. Trusting collaborators to execute assigned tasks or provide honest input allows the decision-maker to synthesize information rapidly and act decisively. Developing trust is an ongoing process, built through consistency, competence, and accountability. Strong trust networks are a multiplier of decision speed and effectiveness. Feedback loops complete the cycle. After collaborative or delegated decisions, reviewing outcomes with participants reinforces learning, strengthens relationships, and improves future decision-making. This process ensures that both the decision-maker and collaborators refine their approaches, understand contributions, and identify areas for improvement. Over time, these feedback loops accelerate organizational and personal decision-making, creating a culture where fast, effective choices are consistently achievable. Emotional awareness is also integral. Collaboration introduces perspectives and sometimes conflicting opinions. Managing stress, remaining open-minded, and maintaining composure ensures that collective input enhances rather than hinders decision-making. Decisive leaders balance consideration of others' insights with timely action, avoiding paralysis by over-analysis. Emotional discipline allows collaboration to become a tool for acceleration rather than a source of delay. Ultimately, mastering delegation and collaboration is about discerning when independence maximizes speed and when collective insight maximizes quality. It is about structured participation, targeted input, clear communication, trust, and reflection. By refining these skills, decisions are made faster, with higher accuracy, and with greater confidence. The mind learns to switch seamlessly between acting alone and leveraging others, transforming the challenge of complex choices into an opportunity for optimized action. Over time, this skill creates a rhythm where speed and effectiveness reinforce each other, making every decision an informed, rapid, and powerful step toward achieving goals. Chapter 10. Making fast decisions a habit. Fast, effective decision-making is not merely a skill, it is a lifestyle. It is the result of consistent practice, disciplined routines, and a mindset that embraces clarity, confidence, and adaptability. Making smart decisions quickly is not about rushing blindly or cutting corners. It is about training the brain to recognize patterns, evaluate options efficiently, and act decisively without hesitation. When decision-making becomes habitual, the mind operates like a finely tuned instrument, seamlessly integrating experience, intuition, and analysis to produce consistently reliable choices with speed and precision. The foundation of this habit is intentional repetition. Like any skill, decision-making strengthens through consistent practice. Each choice, whether trivial or significant, is an opportunity to exercise the mental muscles that enable rapid, accurate judgment. Repeated exposure trains the subconscious to recognize relevant patterns and cues, which reduces cognitive friction and accelerates response. Over time, what once required extensive deliberation becomes second nature. The mind no longer freezes under pressure, but flows naturally through evaluation, prioritization, and execution. Establishing routines is another key component. Daily habits that encourage reflection, prioritization, and mental organization prepare the brain for fast decisions. Simple practices such as reviewing priorities each morning, listing critical tasks, and assessing potential obstacles condition the mind to anticipate challenges and pre-process options. When an unexpected decision arises, the brain draws upon these prepared mental pathways, allowing for swift and confident choices. Routines create an internal scaffolding that supports both speed and accuracy in decision-making. A crucial element is deliberate simplification. Complexity slows the mind and breeds hesitation. Habitual decision makers train themselves to distill problems to their essence, identifying the key factors that truly influence outcomes. By filtering out distractions, irrelevant details, and minor variables, the decision process becomes more fluid. This does not reduce quality, it enhances efficiency by focusing attention where it matters most. Over time, the brain becomes skilled at instantly separating critical elements from noise, making fast, high-quality decisions almost instinctive. Decision rules and preset frameworks reinforce habits. When principles for common scenarios are established in advance, the mind does not need to invent a process each time. For instance, creating criteria for vendor selection, project prioritization, or personal commitments reduces deliberation and ensures alignment with values and goals. These predefined guidelines act as decision shortcuts, allowing speed without sacrificing thoughtfulness. Habitual use of such frameworks embeds structured thinking into the daily rhythm of life, producing consistency and reliability in rapid decision-making. A practical exercise to cultivate this habit is the 2-minute decision challenge. Each day, select 3 minor choices: what to eat for a meal, which email to respond to first, or what task to tackle, and commit to deciding within 2 minutes. Reflect on the outcomes at the end of the day, noting clarity, satisfaction, and effectiveness. Gradually, increase the complexity of decisions while maintaining time limits. This trains the brain to process options quickly, trust judgment, and refine rapid evaluation skills. Over weeks, even larger, high-stakes decisions become faster and more confident because the mental reflex of rapid assessment has been reinforced. Real-world examples show the impact of habitual fast decision-making. Consider a firefighter responding to a blaze. Choices must be immediate, precise, and coordinated. Years of training, repetitive drills, and established protocols turn high-pressure judgments into near-automatic actions. Decisions that could overwhelm an untrained mind are executed with clarity and speed because the brain has internalized routines, patterns, and frameworks through repetition. Speed and accuracy become inseparable, illustrating how habit transforms capacity into instinctive performance. Mental resilience supports this process. Habitual fast decision makers cultivate emotional stability and self-confidence, which prevents hesitation from fear of error. Each decision is an opportunity to reinforce competence rather than a test of worth. Mistakes are treated as feedback rather than failure, feeding the iterative cycle of learning that strengthens intuition and judgment. Over time, the mind develops a bias toward action without recklessness, making rapid choices a reliable aspect of behavior rather than a source of anxiety. Integration with lifestyle amplifies effectiveness. Healthy routines, adequate rest, physical activity, and cognitive stimulation optimize brain function, supporting rapid and accurate evaluation under pressure. The body and mind operate synergistically when energy levels, focus, and clarity are maintained. Decision speed improves naturally. Lifestyle habits, therefore, are not ancillary but foundational to creating a state where smart decisions become habitual and effortless. Reflection reinforces the habit loop. Daily or weekly review of decisions allows identification of patterns, strengths, and areas for improvement. By analyzing choices, the mind adapts and internalizes effective strategies. This feedback process transforms ad hoc decisions into a continuously evolving system, accelerating learning and embedding rapid judgment into long-term behavior. Reflection ensures that speed does not come at the cost of quality and that every choice contributes to cumulative improvement. Environment shapes habit formation as well. Surrounding ourselves with clarity, organization, and minimal distractions creates conditions for faster decision-making. A clutter-free workspace, prioritized task lists, and focused time blocks reduce cognitive load, allowing the brain to allocate energy efficiently to evaluating options and executing choices. Habits are reinforced when the environment consistently supports the behaviors they require, making rapid, intelligent decision-making a natural response rather than an effortful struggle. Another essential aspect is accountability. Sharing goals or decisions with trusted colleagues, mentors, or peers strengthens commitment and encourages consistent practice. Public accountability creates subtle pressure that motivates adherence to routines and disciplined evaluation. This ensures that habitual decision-making is not only fast, but aligned with standards of quality and effectiveness. It bridges individual skill with social reinforcement, further embedding the practice into daily life. Decision-making also benefits from selective automation. For recurring, low-risk decisions, predetermined routines reduce cognitive overhead. Automating simple choices frees mental bandwidth for higher-impact decisions, accelerating both speed and effectiveness in critical areas. Habitual fast decision-making involves discerning which choices require deliberation and which can be executed automatically, optimizing overall efficiency while maintaining intentionality in strategic areas. Ultimately, making fast decisions a habit is about creating a consistent framework for action, embedding reflection and learning, and reinforcing mental, emotional, and environmental support systems. It is a holistic process that combines repetition, simplification, structured frameworks, mental rehearsal, and lifestyle alignment to cultivate a brain that evaluates and acts with speed and accuracy. Over time, this approach transforms decision-making from a laborious, anxious process into a fluent, confident rhythm where rapid, high-quality choices are the default. Decisions become second nature, momentum builds, and the capacity to navigate complexity with clarity and speed becomes a defining characteristic of personal and professional life.